Right, so everybody knows that learning English, it can be a real challenge.
Right. Absolutely. It's like trying to navigate a maze blindfolded sometimes. So many rules, exceptions, idioms. Where do you even begin?
But what if, and hear me out here, what if we could actually make it fun?
Okay, I'm listening.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into something that might just change your whole perspective. We've got this list of movie recommendations, say.
Movie recommendations?
Yeah, but it's not just a random list. This is tailored specifically for English language learners, like you, listening right now.
Interesting. So we're not just talking about watching any movie. These are strategically chosen, I assume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It breaks down films based on the skills you want to develop, like are you struggling with pronunciation? Bam. There's a movie for that.
Ah, so it's a targeted approach, matching films to specific learning goals. I like it.
It maybe slang has got you totally stumped.
Yeah.
No worries. There's a movie for that too.
This is starting to sound pretty cool. I'm curious to see what kind of movies made the cut.
Well, let's start with the basics of pronunciation. I mean, it's the foundation of clear communication, right?
Yeah.
And I bet you're thinking, oh, they're going to say the King's Speech, right?
Yeah, it's the go-to for accent work, but I have a feeling you have something a little more unexpected up your sleeve.
You know me too well. We're going for Forrest Gump on this one.
Forrest Gump. Interesting choice.
Think about it. That iconic line. My mama always said life was like a box of chocolates. Simple words, clear pronunciation, and delivered with so much heart.
Right, right. That simplicity is actually brilliant for learners. Because you're not getting bogged down with complex vocabulary, you can really focus on those individual sounds, the rhythm of the sentence. And let's be honest, Tom Hanks, you can't get much clearer than his pronunciation.
Exactly. You're practically mimicking him without even realizing it.
Now, if you want a film that really throws you into the deep end of American pronunciation and those everyday conversations, The Pursuit of Happiness is a
No,
must-watch.
I love that movie.
Remember that scene where Will Smith's character is practicing his sales pitch over and over again? I mean, that's pure gold for understanding the flow of natural speech, how we stress certain words, connect sounds together.
Oh, yeah, that scene is so powerful. And it shows how much effort goes into just sounding natural, which is something learners really need to see.
It's not just about pronouncing individual words correctly, it's about the music of the language, the intonation, the pauses. All of that comes into play.
Speaking of different sounds, let's jump across the pond to British English.
Oh, the accents. Always a favorite.
I mean, Harry Potter's great, don't get me wrong, but it's a bit of a fantasy world. If you want real, everyday British banter,
You want something more grounded.
exactly, Notting Hill is where it's at.
Mhm.
That scene where Hugh Grant is trying to explain his job to Julia Roberts, it's hilarious.
Oh, that's a classic scene.
It's full of those quirky British expressions and that self-deprecating humor they do so well.
And it perfectly illustrates the idea of different registers in language. Yeah, basically different styles of speaking depending on the situation. So, Notting Hill nails that casual everyday chat, whereas The King's Speech is all about that formal, almost royal register.
Ah, that makes sense. So you switch it up depending on who you're talking to and where you are.
Precisely. And for pure, heartwarming Britishness, you can't go wrong with Paddington.
I mean, who doesn't love Paddington?
But it's not just cute bear shenanigans. You pick up so many everyday British phrases. It's incredible how much you can learn from a polite bear who loves marmalade.
And he always seems to get his point across, no matter how many misunderstandings happen along the way. It proves that even with a few language slip-ups, you can still communicate effectively.
Absolutely. And the humor in Paddington is what makes it so memorable. When we laugh, we learn. That's true for everything, language included. Now, switching gears a bit, if you're ready to tackle the wild world of American slang,
Ooh, slang. It's a minefield out there.
sitcoms are your best friend. Friends is an obvious choice, but I actually think The Devil Wears Prada offers a fantastic blend of workplace lingo and those quick, witty exchanges.
Oh, totally. It's like a master class in how to be both professional and cutting at the same time.
Exactly. And the fashion vocabulary alone is worth the price of admission.
That's all. I still use that line all the time.
See, movies teach us so much more than just grammar and vocabulary. They give us cultural insights, social cues, all these subtle things that textbooks often miss.
And speaking of the workplace, The Intern is brilliant for anyone who wants to learn the ins and outs of professional English.
Oh, The Intern with Robert De Niro, fantastic choice. It's so refreshing to see a movie that portrays workplace communication in such a realistic way. You see De Niro's character navigating those formal meetings, but also those casual water cooler conversations.
Yeah. And for those of us who may not have worked in a corporate setting, how can we apply what we see in The Intern to real-world situations?
I think the key takeaway is to pay close attention to how the characters adapt their language depending on the context. Observe their tone, their word choices, even their body language.
So it's like a master class in reading between the lines, understanding those unspoken rules of workplace communication.
Exactly. The movie subtly teaches you how to strike that balance between being professional but also approachable.
Which is super important these days.
Yeah.
And then you have films like Moneyball and Suits that take you even deeper into specific industries, like sports management and law, each with their own unique vocabulary.
It's fascinating how movies can expose us to these specialized fields, even if we don't have direct experience in them.
Yeah, it's like a sneak peek into a whole different world.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget about animated movies. They're not just for kids.
Absolutely not. They're engaging for all ages, the pronunciation is usually crystal clear, and the storylines can be surprisingly complex.
Plus, there's something about animation that just makes learning fun. You
Mhm.
know, you're not as self-conscious about mimicking the characters. You're just enjoying the story.
Yeah. Exactly, it takes the pressure off. And while there are tons of great animated films out there, Inside Out stands out for its focus on emotional vocabulary.
Oh, yeah. It's not just about learning words like happy or sad. It's about understanding the nuances of emotions, how they influence our thoughts and actions.
It's like learning a whole new language, the language of emotions, which is essential for effective communication.
Right. Because if you can understand and express your emotions clearly, it makes connecting with others so much easier.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the practical tips our source provides.
Oh, yeah. Watching with subtitles, repeating dialogue out loud, writing down new words.
All great strategies.
My personal favorite is mimicking the actors. It helps me really nail the pronunciation and intonation. It's like having a personal acting coach right there on the screen.
Active engagement is key. The more you put yourself out there, the more you'll learn. But remember, while movies are a fantastic starting point, real-world practice is essential.
Talking to people, making mistakes, learning from them. That's where the real magic happens.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to use those new words and phrases you've learned, even if it feels a bit awkward at first. Every conversation is a step closer to fluency.
So to wrap things up, whether you're striving for flawless pronunciation, conquering slang, or navigating the world of professional English, movies can be your secret weapon.
They offer a fun, engaging, and accessible way to immerse yourself in the language and culture.
So what kind of English do you want to master? What world are you eager to step into through film?
The possibilities are endless. Think about it. How can you use movies not just to learn English, but to connect with different cultures, explore new perspectives, maybe even discover a hidden passion? The journey is yours to create.
And who knows, maybe your next favorite English teacher will be a marmalade-loving bear from London.
Now that would be an interesting class.
Until next time, happy watching.
Happy learning.